So I'm just saying the harmonics have totally changed in my world now. As you watch this video, please comment below, please like it and share it, because this is the What You Can Do video series. All right, this is the technique I've been working on for the past several transmissions. It is perfected in this video, and I want you to learn it and I want you to use it, because it's going to change your environment by you walking into the environment, and that's the secret. That's how you're going to win the war, the spiritual battle that's at hand right now. So I changed the magnetics towards the end, and my feedback has gotten so much better. But you're going to see in the video how I drop down into a lower magnetic, a lower frequency, and my feedback from my world starts to get a little bit chaotic, a little bit inappropriate. So watch this video, tune into it, use the technique, master, perfect it, and perfect your world with light. God bless.
I am of the pure mind of God. I am the resurrection and the life in my body, my finances, my relationships, and my world. I qualify everything in my world with perfection. I am perfection. I am this perfect day, and the life that lives in me is the light that cannot fail. I accept only God's perfection, His good, in my outer circumstances. I know in my heart that God is all in all. I am absolutely not concerned about what happens, because I know wonderful things are happening now.
So if you're new to my work, let me just share something with you right now. I recommend you go back and watch every video in the series. His faithful promises are your armor and protection. It's on this channel, or better yet, go to figleaf.tv and watch it on library and download it, and then catch up to here, because I'm going to get you a technique right now, show you how to perfect it, okay? And what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to not be scared of what's to come anymore, because it's going to give you the power to change that. Hola, ¿cómo está? I don't know much Spanish, but I should, because I'm Hurtado, and my grandfather, who raised me, spoke Spanish. Shame on me for not speaking the language. You know, that would be a very valuable skill right now. It'd be wonderful to be able to be fluent in that language, in case you gotta just up and go. But that's not the plan for me anyway, so it's all good. So, another incident with public enemy number one today. The mask shamers are out. Well, today I had a guy who is about 250 pounds plus, literally towers over me, and he wanted to be confrontational with me in the weight room about me not wearing a mask. Because apparently now there were two people not wearing a mask, because another girl that was about the size of Sabrina did not have one. So he gets in my face. Is there a reason you're not wearing a mask? And I said, yes, a medical reason. Don't ask me again. And I swiped left. But apparently he doesn't know what swipe left means. But he really wanted to get confrontational. And you see, unfortunately, that's a coward. I don't care how big it looks. I don't care what the history of that time capsule is. That's a coward. And I want to warn you that we don't have anything left to live for. We have nothing left to live for on the physical trajectory if we don't say no to tyranny right now. And I'm just going to leave that conversation alone, because my last two videos I talked well enough about it. I can't live your life. I can't make your decisions. And by all means, if you don't feel safe, do whatever you got to do. Safety is always the excuse to take freedom. So, on that note, another nice dog. Wow, look at that dog's eyes. It's amazing. Yeah. That dog had blue eyes that just penetrated. Amazing. I don't know what it was. Was that a husky or a wolf? I can't remember. But I'm not really a dog breed person, but like I said, because people like to get out and walk their dogs, I run into like these characters, these amazing looking dogs. So today's transmission is called, the technique has a name now that I've been hammering out. It's called perfect timing and doing your daily PT, the PT acronym, perfect timing. That's the name of this technique, perfect timing. So you do your daily PT. Why do you do it? Well, you're actually syncing yourself to a frequency. You're syncing yourself to a frequency, and then you're becoming conscious of how that sits with you. So for years, I used to use, the M states, the monatomic gold, silver, iridium, ruthenium, and I would always, mess around with brainwave states. I would always drop my brain waves, and then I'd put on the head monitor to see how I was doing and what it looked like, and I was giving myself that biofeedback type mechanism so I'd be able to see what that feeling was. See, feeling is what gets the blessing, and feeling is the frequency. But I wanted to see the feedback in my outer world of what that frequency was, so that I could always be cognizant of where my brain states were, because then I could condition myself through the repetition of doing it to stay optimized. Just becoming aware, that's really important. Just becoming aware of where you are, what frequency you're in, what state you're occupying. It matters. So this is called the perfect timing technique. Finally, it has a name. And so, similar to the music, how everything was geared up to 440, and that's a kind of it's not really a natural harmonic. It's out of sync with the harmony of the 428 and the other solfeggio tones. So we're doing this because we want to line ourselves in the free flow state, the living in the freestyle, I call it, so that you can be in a position of occupying the frequency where you're at rest and receiving. Not my will, but thine will be done. This is the whole point. Because when you come into the solution frequency of re-emerging from the ABC break process, it carries with it a different timing. And so when you conduct your affairs in that timing, and when you carry yourself in that manner, in that timing, then you get to get that feedback of what that feels like, so that when things are getting a little dicey around you, you can put yourself back into that timing. And so I've been working on this to change my outer experience. And so before I went to the gym today, this has been a kind of a repeat pattern, because when you give somebody who has no authority permission to, come after you like the mask Nazis, they're going to do it, because that's the only chance they've ever had to have some real power in their life. And so historically, I've been the only one that hasn't had one on. And today, it was really, really nice. It felt so good. Because like I said, there was this young girl the size of Sabrina. Well, she wasn't young, but she was younger than me. And she was working out, and so he comes up to me. He's belligerent after I tell him off and I swipe left. I'm not afraid of him. Like, whatever. Pound for pound, I would destroy that guy in a New York minute, but it's not about flesh, it's about spirit. So I figure I'll just let him deal with the anger, but I needed to resync. Okay, I'm not going to get angry about it. I'm just going to be in my power and stand up for what's right for my kids' future. Let me repeat that. I'm going to be in my power and stand up for what's right for my kids' future. Because if we don't stand up now, I'm sorry, but your kids have no future. And so if you're sitting there wondering if you're going to play it safe, it's too late. There's nowhere to play safe. I'm sorry, but we're in full live mode now, and you know, this is a war zone. It's a spiritual war zone, and you don't get to hide underneath the covers anymore. We have a nation full of cowards, a nation full of wimps. It's pathetic, actually, and we can do something about it. We have to change our timing. We have to begin to change the way that we step through our matrix, because here's the deal. You see, when we carry a certain frequency, now get this is why it's important. When we carry a certain frequency, we can harmonize those around us. But if we fall into their frequency, then it doesn't matter what we physically do. It doesn't matter what action we physically take if we're in the same frequency as them. And this is a frequency war. Okay, this is a spiritual war, and it plays out through a frequency bandwidth. And that bandwidth is fear. Okay, fear. This is a big, giant psyop of fear, chaos, confusion. And so what we do is, this is a very special, like, covert op, because you're not doing it blatantly to the naked eye. You're doing it on the etheric realm, and you're doing the exact same thing Christ would do. When he walked into a room, he would change the magnetics in that room because of his consciousness. That's what you're doing. So this is the way that you actually move in and out of your venues in your cargo ship, and this is how you wave your flag, your peacetime flag, not the wartime flag with a spire on it, war against the people. But you don't want to go toe to toe with these people on their level, on their frequency. Just swipe left and change your magnetics. So it was kind of funny because he huffed and puffed, and then he, you know, walked over to the girl. "Why don't you have a mask on?" She said, "Medical condition." And then she looks over at me and she's like, and I'm like, "Hey, whatever you got to do." You know what I'm saying? Now, logistically, I never thought I'd say this, but it seems like, you know, having been diagnosed many times with anxiety and other medical conditions seems to play out in my favor. So, yeah, you see, everything plays out in your favor when you get right with God. He uses it all to your advantage. All right, so perfect timing. Here we are. This is a good place to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get back into the scene of where I was in that moment when I was confronted by, let's call him a goonie, because he kind of was like a goonie, you know, a big giant dum-dum, you know. And, you know, hey, maybe that's judgmental, but I think it is rather dumb to try to take away people's freedoms when you have no authority. No, you don't have any authority because you're not law enforcement, okay? You're not the one to enforce it. So you got somebody walking around as if he is, and I call that a dum-dum, because he doesn't know who he is or where he is, and frankly, he doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. So he's just trying to use intimidation because he thinks because he's big, like that matters. You know what they say, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. That's going to be true about the empire too. The bigger it is, the harder it falls, and it's going to fall pretty massively. So I'm putting myself into that frequency, okay, back into the conflict active state. And so the world itself in general, because it's experiencing war, because it's at war, always at war, okay? The vibration of fear is always at war with its own members and with everything around it. That's the state of affairs right now. And so what happens is you get sucked into it. And so the perfect timing is all about you stepping out of it, okay? Stepping out of that frequency so you can carry the different magnetics and you can bring about the change in the world that you want to see because you become it. Remember what they say? That you're supposed to become the change you want to see in the world? Well, you need to know how to do it. That's what this is all about. This is how to become the change you want to see in the world. It's not by rioting and looting and holding signs and all that stuff, even though you can do that if you want. It's really about changing your magnetics, occupying a different state, a different frequency. So before we begin, I want to show you something here because I haven't seen this like this in a while. But the water is gorgeous. Look at that water. That's some beautiful water, huh? My goodness. It just looks beautiful today. It's kind of like different, water is like the current, it's like the thought stream, and it's kind of like beautiful now. And whereas yesterday someone actually died right out there, I saw the man right before he did. Sabrina was a little shaken up by it because she was actually right there when they were trying to resuscitate him, and the waters were yeah, you can. So the waters were rising pretty high and he went out there on his kayak, and so I was up there. You see that big house on the hill up there? I was right across from there, and he was getting out of his vehicle, and I picked up on it. He was not in a good mood. I felt it. I walked by, and it was one of those rare times when I didn't say hi and he didn't say hi, even though we saw each other. And well, it is what it is. He went out on the water, and the waves were high. There were 3 to 4 foot waves yesterday, and they were coming strong. And he went out, and all of a sudden I heard fire trucks coming. All sorts of fire trucks were coming, and ambulance came. So I checked on the scanner to see what was going on, and it said a man was 50 feet away from his kayak where he fell off.
Shout out.
Hey. So he was 50 feet away from his kayak, and he was, brought back in, and he was dead. He drowned. And a lot of kids were there. A lot of people were shaken up, because they couldn't bring him back to life. And so anyway, the water was really dark and brown, and it was, because it was moving a lot of the dirt from underneath. And the water was very aggressive looking, very aggressive. And it's a great metaphor because, you see, you don't want to go out into the waters when they're aggressive like that. You don't want to take your ship into those waters. Think about it. Hear what I'm saying. And you see, that's the thought stream of the collective. It's a great analogy because when the opinions are flying left and right, it's a frequency thing. And it's causing huge oscillation, huge fluctuations of energy waves. And well, have you ever been hit with 240 on an electrical circuit, or even 120? You ever got hit by it?
Are you feeling embarrassed and stuck because you can't focus or concentrate? I have a confession to make. I spent years unable to think clearly, like I was in a fog. I was going through the motions, running my companies, and I hated feeling groggy and mentally sluggish. I couldn't get ahead like this. It's no secret, the powers that be want us dumbed down. Chemicals, fluoride, our brains are under siege, and we are experiencing lower IQs. But now there's a weapon to fight back and win. Introducing DNA Evolve, a revolutionary breakthrough in a category of cognitive enhancers called nootropics. I've been using DNA Evolve and couldn't feel better. For me, it works. It feels great to get things done again and get ahead. Try a free sample for yourself at DNAEvolveSample.com. That's DNAEvolveSample.com. Supplies are limited, so go to DNAEvolveSample.com right now.
It can paralyze you. It can take you out. One time I was electrician apprentice, and I was on top of a ladder at the Princeton Health Club, and it's It's kind of cool because I built that place as an electrician, and I ended up working there as a manager for quite some time. But I went up on top of the ladder. I was new in the field, and I grabbed onto a neutral, and I wasn't quite, I was a little bit ahead of myself, and I got blown off the ladder. It was a 240. It was 240 coming at me back on that neutral. That thing shot me right off the ladder, took out some of the ceiling grid. I landed on the floor, pale as a ghost. I was fine. I was shaken up though, big time, because literally just blew me right off the ladder. And praise you, Father, because that's another time you let me live. And well, that's what I'm saying, is when the things are that turbulent, there's a lot of current coming. You don't want to get blown off like that. And so, I picked up a vibe that the guy might not have been doing so well emotionally to begin with, and then symbolically went out on the raging waves, and it ended up being lethal, to his mortal sense of self. That was the end of his mortality right there. And so what I'm saying is, today, like at the gym, when I get approached like that, I have a split second, a fleeting second, to make a decision whether I'm going to step into that turbulent stream of conflict active emotional charge. And my human will, my human self was, I've seen him work out. I sized him up. I was thinking, okay, I could probably get him to initiate something and then just instantly take this dude down. But I'm like, you know what? It's not worth it. That's not the way to love somebody, because at the end of the day, the commandment is love. We don't want to step into our human, because that's not love. And it brings destruction, because that's what puts you in those turbulent waves. And it brings damage to everybody. That would have been bad for him. It would have been bad for me, regardless of which way it went. Regardless of which way it went, it would have. Oh, you shouldn't call yourself that. It's not good. So anyway, it wouldn't have ended well if that happened. Because I've seen it happen so many times. I've seen it happen so many times. So what did I do? Well, I'm doing it right now. And you notice how when I started to talk about it, I had that guy, say, hey, it's your boy, Skinny Penis. And I'm like, well, you shouldn't talk about yourself like that, because I'm deflecting it. But at the same time, why did that come? It came because I'm talking about the conflict active. And so what is that doing? It's bringing it back into the now space. And so that's what I was doing, is I was calibrating back into that. Now I got to step out of it. That's where you begin this thing. So first thing I want to do is I want to turn to the solution, the I am within. What is known in the mind of God for the experience? Okay, there's not any disharmony amongst God's members. Boom, there's the truth. There are no conflicts and no disharmonies within God's members. There can be no strife within God, period. You get that? Because God is all in all. You see how I just find the truth? Now, here we go. 4-second metronome. Tick, 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 tick. I'm focusing the whole time, tick, on the truth statement. Tick, tick. There's no strife within God. Tick, 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 tick. Okay, now ABC break process. It is not it. Could I allow for just this moment things to be exactly as they are? Yes. So could I allow for this moment him to be right? Yes. That's the easy way to do it. For just this moment, I'll let him be right. Now go to a place of peace. So let's see if I can get some better feedback in my outer, because when I started talking about it, that was perfect, because then I got that comment, you know, and that guy jumped in the video, which is cool because it got to show you how quick this can change. The magnetics changed. That's why this technique is perfect. So I got to sit in my place of peace because I'm not done yet. I got to drop it down. All right. So we're in the place of peace. So now I'm going to go to the solution as if it's changed and it's 5 years ahead. So what I'm envisioning now is I'm envisioning that scene perfected by the light of truth. So I'm seeing the truth in that scene. That's how you perfect it. That there are no strife, no conflict, nothing within God's members outside of divine love. So now I'm walking through that gym right now. I'm stepping into it and I'm walking through it in a way where there is harmony within all members. And nobody is pretending to boss anybody around. Nobody's walking around in fear of anything. Okay, now I'm syncing that up. I'm syncing in that calibration. Now every time one of those old thoughts comes in, or any fear or temptation to take me out of this state, I just say tick and I shoot down any of those ideas that are coming. Anything outside of the idea that I'm focusing on, I shoot it down. Tick. 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 So now I'm just going to keep carrying it, and I give it a color. It's always gold, bright. It's the light that I always use. I perfect it with light. So now I bring the light into the experience. I bring the light in, and then what that's doing is it's it's devouring matter. I'm devouring matter with light. Okay, so now I just want to mention that it's a double meaning. How are you guys doing? Good. So it's perfect timing, and it's also perfect the timing. Perfect the timing. What you're doing is you're perfecting the timing that you're in. See, the world sucks you into a distorted timing, and then all sorts of chaos, trauma dramas come into your experience, and they come into your video like mine. It's because everything you're looking at is a video. It's a hologram. See that? Let's see if it makes any difference. I'm just walking in a different timing. So what I'm doing right now is I'm walking and I'm having that experience held in my conscious awareness, and I have light immersed in it, and I've perfected the timing, and I've poured out the finest wine into it, like the wedding feast miracle. You see, it was a stony pot, and it was empty of God's good to begin with, and I've poured in the finest wine, which means I've perfected it with light. The light is the wisdom that perfects. And the secret is I'm in the perfect timing. And I'm doing my daily PT. So what I'm doing is every experience where I get, where I get drawn into that, I'm perfecting it. And I am bringing it to its completed state of perfect light. And that's what you want to do. I'm perfecting it. And see, I started doing it yesterday with that experience at the gym. And today there were two people. One didn't have a mask on, but I say he did because when he was confronted, he put it on. But the other girl, she didn't, and she was like smiling, you know, and I'm like, hey, you do what you got to do, right? I'm not for or against what you're doing, but I'm just telling you it's not for me. And I'm super grateful that you're joining me in that freedom that is inherent within spirit. So what's happening is there were two this time. Let's see what happens next time. Maybe I'll have 5 or more. And as I continue to perfect my world with light, and as I walk into it in the right timing. See, the most important thing is that I walk into my environment in the right timing, perfecting my timing, my frequency, because that's bringing about a different calibration, and it changes the speed at which everything else is oscillating around me. Do you understand how this works according to the magnetics and the speed and the physics? Imagine you have a bunch of ripples in the water, okay? Just imagine you have a bunch of ripples in the water. But now, since I'm bringing forth that which is perfected, and it's like dropping a cannonball right in the middle of that water. And what happens is it takes over the whole pool. There's a big ripple that goes through the whole pool. And so what happens is, since I've perfected it in my consciousness, and I drop myself into that environment, it's like jumping into it with a cannonball, like boom, splash. And it sends forth that thought image projection that I have. See, because minds mingle. Get this, minds mingle. So it's the most covert thing you can do, and it's the most powerful thing you can do. Because when I change the magnetics and I drop in like a cannonball and I splash the whole room, those waves crash, those waves of thought, the perfected thought, crashes against all the ignorance in that room. And I guarantee you there'll be more and more, because I am infecting them with the virus. See, what are they afraid of? What's the real virus? Consciousness rising. And bam, there it is. So it's time, spiritual special forces operators, if you are with me, this was all given to me, this was all channeled information, and it has come to its conclusion in this video. It is the perfect timing technique and perfecting your timing. And you take yourself into the venue with your perfected thought and your frequency. And so, hello, like Quimby discovered that minds mingle. Minds mingle. Well, you see, all the erring, ignorant, superstitious minds, they've watched their idiot box, their tell lie vision, and they're all in a frantic magnetic state. See? They've all been tuned like a tuning fork to a chaos pattern. But we know that truth destroys error. So I will enter the environment walking in the truth, and then my thoughts will reach them. And what happens is I don't have to say a word to anyone in that room, because they will hear loud and clear, because the waves will splash and it will hit them. And that is the virus that the corrupt satanic system is deathly afraid of. Because truth has occupied you, and they are very afraid of you. Because one of you can lift up millions of them just by your frequency, just by your magnetics. And so there's your mission. Do a feedback loop on it, just like what happened in my video. You see, everything happens because it's supposed to. Do a feedback loop on it and document what's happening. And you can walk in and out of your environments, and you see, you can wear your mask and go in there and do it. You can do whatever you want, and you can change the magnetics. Now, as a personal preference, because I have legitimately had a medical reason, I don't wear one. My body needs oxygen. And, well, that goes into a whole nother story. So sometimes I take one for the team, but I know how to change my magnetics. Now, if you don't, I suggest you don't do it. I suggest you put your mask on, because what's going to happen is if you derive confrontation and you become stirred into their vibrational field, then you're not going to win, because even if you do win, you've still adopted their magnetics and their frequency, because everything operates on frequency. Thank you, Tesla, and that's the way it works.
Hello, I'm Shen with Allow Ministries. If you are new or just getting warmed up to this material, here's a great place to begin. Use the groundbreaking tools ABC break process, safe touch, and self-entrainment technique. These are the original spiritual millionaire workshop trainings. Matthew David discovered these techniques became bedridden and bankrupt. To develop a 7-figure business and today train like a pro athlete. Within a few minutes, you'll receive the first technique, ABC Break Free, followed by the next one, Safe Touch, 5 days later. Lastly, you'll be invited to learn Matthew's most powerful skill set to shift the vibration. What he believes to be true is you can occupy parallel universes now. This technique is called self-entrainment. You'll be invited to be personally mentored by Matthew David to master this once-in-a-lifetime skill set. Look for that text to arrive in 10 days. Matthew David has streamlined the learning curve to offer you his best material for rapid life transformation at the pace that works. It's a 30-day investment in yourself to achieve the inner game of permanent abundance and vitality structured as daily techniques to build your life strategically on a solid foundation that prospers you for all your days. It's a legacy to learn, profit from, and even teach to your loved ones. To navigate an ever-changing world with timeless and changeless wisdom. Now, it's your turn to rise above your circumstances and prove that all power is within you. Now to the number below and begin your fast track journey to your best life ever. No matter what the outer circumstances seem to be, you can master your world. Starting now.
Hey, it's Matthew David, the Minister of Allowing. So let me tell you a story quick. It's about this. This is the Beethoven Brain CBD. So what makes this unique is, first of all, well, my friend gave me a call and he wanted me to, get into the CBD. And he said, you like it. You've been using CBD. And I'm like, yeah, I've been using it. And I was using a different blend. And he said, well, here's what's different. Okay, now my friend's a genius. He's in his 20s. He built a company that was the fastest growing company in the industry that he was in, sold it for $50 million this year. He's sunk almost $1 million into this manufacturing for the CBD. And he said, listen, the reason why ours is different is that our blend uses physics to extract a full 100% of the plant. So it doesn't use any chemicals. It doesn't use anything abrasive or anything that would cause any impurities in the blend, and extracts the full amount, the full 100% of the plant. And so that is important to me. And we got 5,000 milligrams. So we're going all in on this.